Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Zita, and on my channel I share with you DIYs and makeovers on a budget. And don't forget to follow me over on my socials at Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and Etsy. So let's get started on today's DIYs. So this first DIY here, guys, this is a file box I thrifted. And I'm going to be taking out that middle piece there. It's pretty beat up, so I'm just going to make that over and make it look all beautiful again. And I'm going to make this into kind of like a art box, I guess, idea box. So right here, my first step, I'm putting on some Fusion Ultra Grip. This is going to help the paint stick to the metal better. And if you haven't used the Fusion Ultra Grip before, I'll post that in the description box. So right here, I'm spray painting the box with a coat of black matte paint, and then after that dried, I sprayed it with a sealant. So when I distress it back after applying the white, I don't distress back to the metal. So make sure you seal that black in. And right here, I'm using this contact paper that I found at the Dollar Tree. It's a floral print. I'm putting that inside. Just cut all the pieces out to fit in there and then just peeled it back, and it fit in there pretty nicely. The contact paper wasn't overly sticky, so if it did stick, you were able to pull it up easy and fit it in there properly. So right there, I'm just measuring it out from the outside. So yeah, you just can do it this way as well. You can peel the whole thing off or just peel a little bit at a time. Just pull it back from underneath. So I got all that done. This is what it looks like inside, but that floor box looks a lot nicer. Don't see all that beat up pieces that were inside. So right here, I'm applying my Rust-Oleum white linen chalk paint on top. And I think I gave it a couple of coats just so the black wasn't showing through. And right here, after the chalk paint has dried, I'm distressing it back to the black with a wet rag. Now I've seen some people use scrapers as well. And this is the napkin I'm going to be decoupaging to the bottom. So I'm using some water and a small paintbrush to go around the area that I want to come off the napkin. So make sure to pull that back lightly, just so you don't rip your napkin. Here I'm just pouring out some Mod Podge into a little container here. It's getting down to the bottom, so it's hard for me to reach down there with my brush, but I still do sometimes. So this is what I've cut out of my napkin here with my wet paintbrush. So what do you think, guys? Should I have gone up to the top of the box with the flowers, like on the one side here that I'm applying the Mod Podge, or would you have left it the way it is now, just kind of on the bottom portion? You'll see in the end when it's all finished what I mean. And so I just apply a little bit of Mod Podge at a time, and then I use this plastic shower cap that I have. You can use a plastic bag, to, you know, smooth it out as well. I find the plastic works well instead of your fingers, because your fingers sometimes can rip the napkin. So go kind of light with the plastic so it doesn't rip the napkin. So this is how I continue applying the Mod Podge and until I get to the end, and then I let that dry a little bit actually before I apply the Mod Podge on top. So right here I have an old calendar that I got at the Dollar Tree, and this is what I'm going to apply to that area there where I left it white. And I'm going to use carbon paper that I picked up from Michael's, I believe. And I cut it down just to fit there, and I tape that calendar page in place so it doesn't shift around. You can see the tape has come up there on the side. But I'm using a pencil, tracing over the words on that calendar page, and it's gonna come out nicely once I'm all finished that, and then it leaves room for you to paint it with a paint marker, a permanent marker. I'm gonna be using a marker in like a pink rosy color, as you see here. And after I finish applying that, I did seal it in with a spray sealant because I didn't want that marker to smear. So I don't have that in my video. I didn't get a video of that, but I did spray it with a spray sealer after I was finished. And then the next day I applied my Mod Podge to the top of that napkin, and I let that dry, and once all of that was dry, I applied a coat of clear finishing wax on the top just to seal all that chalk paint in and to seal the marker in, just to make it more durable. What do you think, guys? Let your ideas bloom. So I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this for myself or try and sell it yet. So there's a finishing wax, just a clear finishing wax. I applied that all over, and this project is finished. Let me know in the comments, guys, what do you think? From this to this beautiful new piece. For the next DIY, I have this little metal, kind of looks like a purse. I picked this up at the thrift store. So I'm going to put a base coat of black on this, and I actually should have applied that Fusion Ultra Grip too, because I find, I don't know, paint seems to come off metal really easily, and there was a few spots of black that came off after I painted this. So I applied this polyacrylic after to seal in that black, and then I applied my white chalk paint so that I could distress it back to that black without going to the metal. And once that was done, I'm using this IOD stamps here. They have so many beautiful little transfers in here. No, it's not a stamp, it's a transfer. Sorry. And I thought I'd put this little butterfly on here and make this into kind of like a little pot. I'm going to put some lavender in here and make it look all spring and summery. So you just take this piece that comes with the transfers, guys, and just burnish it down, and then I use that plastic that I take off the transfer to burnish it down some more. What do you think, guys? I'm going to put some lavender in here. But first I'm going to distress it back to show some of the black, and I'm going to apply the same finishing wax that I used before, and you can use lint-free cloth or a brush, as you saw me do there. And I have some styrofoam on hand, so I'm just using that to put my lavender in. And this one is finished. This one was quick and easy. Those transfers are awesome, guys. If you haven't used them, pick some up. They're the IOD transfers. I think there's some other companies that have them too, like Redesign for Prima. So if you haven't tried them, try them, guys. They make your projects a little faster. All you have to do is burnish those pictures on there. So this is what it looked like before, and this is how beautiful it looks now. I have it sitting in there with all of my other plants, and those lavender kind of look real sitting in there with all of it. Looks a little bit springy, and it's giving me the spring vibes, and I hope spring is here soon. Let me know, guys, in the comments, what do you thought of this quick redo DIY? DIY here is this box that I thrifted. I think it was maybe a tea box or something like that. Has all these little compartments in there, but it had that that wording on the top there that I couldn't remove. It was kind of ingrained into the wood, so I decided I'm gonna paint that white just on top because I really love the color of the box. I guess I could have tried to find something like the same color as the box, but thought I'd decoupage a floral print on top there. So again, I just apply a little bit of Mod Podge at a time and then use my plastic to burnish that down and then start on another little piece. And I had to piece this napkin together to get the right pattern, just the way the floral print was on the napkin. Now in the end, I don't know what happened here, if it was the Mod Podge, but it seemed like where that line was, it kind of turned like, I don't know, a little yellow or something. So I could see that line a little bit, you know, coming through because of it looking a little more yellow. So I may redo this over sometime in the future, and you'll see here I'll point to that line. See right there? Kind of looks like it's a different color. I don't know why that happened. But so yeah, I sanded off the excess napkin off there, and right here I'm using that same calendar that I had, and I'm just cutting out a piece to fit inside. I was going to do decoupage inside, but I decided to just cut this piece out from this calendar. It says "You're enough," and I put that inside. So this box, guys, you could use it for tea, you could use it for jewelry, you could use it for office supplies, sewing supplies, so many little things that you could use this box for. And yeah, I've dressed it up there with the decoupage and then this little piece from the calendar, and this one is all done. What do you think of this one, guys? Give me a comment in the comment section and let me know what you think of this guy. And let me know what you think happened there with that line, that yellow line that kind of came through. Do you think that was the Mod Podge, or do you think that was just the napkin? So here's what it looked like before, and here's what it looked like after. Have it sitting over there in the sun. I think it looks beautiful. That floral print is really nice. Again, giving me spring vibes again. This is what that calendar piece that I cut out there looks like inside. So yeah, you could use this little box for all kinds. So again, guys, let me know in the comments what you thought of this one. So for my next DIY, I thrifted this tray from the thrift store. It's just a piece of raw wood. I painted the edges black and the bottom black, and then I painted white in the middle of the tray. But now that I completed my project, I wish I would have just painted the whole thing black, because this napkin here that I'm using for the decoupage is kind of dark. So when I took the edges off, it brought some of the white through. So I think it would have looked a lot better if I would have just painted the whole thing black. So you'll see here after what I mean with some of the white showing through, because it didn't have a clean edge. Maybe if it had a clean edge, it would have been okay, because then none of the white would have shown through. But I think I could have got away with just using black all over this tray with this napkin, because like I said, it's kind of dark. And so I may in the future use some tape around the edges of this napkin, and just so the white doesn't show through. And you'll, like I said, you'll see what I mean coming up here. And this napkin is so beautiful. It's a bunch of succulents on this napkin. It's just gorgeous. I love it. It looks beautiful on this tray. I'm gonna put some pots on here, some terracotta pots, and then I had some faux cactus to put in there, and it looks really nice on there. So I just, yeah, when I sanded the edges there, it kind of ripped some of the edges and brought some of that white through. I don't think it would have been as bad if I had the edges of the tray painted white as well. You wouldn't have really noticed that as much. You see what I mean here with the white coming through? Like I said, I don't think it would have been as bad if I had the edges painted white as well. But with the edges painted black, you can really notice that white. It kind of looks like, you know, I made a mistake. But anyway, here's what it looked like before, and here's what it looks like now. I think it still looks beautiful, but like I said, I may paint around there those edges where it's ripped and paint it black. What do you think of this one, guys? Would you have painted black underneath that, or just keep it as is? My last DIY here today, guys, I picked up this little riser from the thrift store. It already looks like a riser. I have no idea what this was before. Maybe part of some cupboard or something. I don't know. Any of you guys have any ideas what this may have been before? I don't think it was a riser. I think it belonged to something. Let me know in the comments if you guys know what this might have been before. So I did the whole process here again with the black paint underneath and then the chalk paint on top, and then I distressed it back to the black, wet distressing it here with a wet cloth, just to bring some of that black through and give it more of that farmhouse kind of feel. And I'm just distressing the corners there, just where you would get some natural wear and tear. And to this one, I have this stencil here, that a floral stencil. I'm just putting it in the corner, and then this piece will be done. And I'm just using, I was going to use some ink on this before, but there wasn't enough ink in the ink pad, so I took out my black paint, and I'm using a stencil brush here and just pouncing up and down. And If you want to, you could also apply a white there before, but this stencil was one that stuck on there, so it worked really well for the stencil brush. I didn't need to paint a white on there before. So this is what the distressing looks like. That's what that stencil looks like. And then after all that dried, the next day I applied a finishing wax to that. And this one's done, guys. So this is what you could use this one for, a little plant stand. You could also put a candle on it here, as you'll see, but you could also put some bathroom stuff on here. Could use this to stage a few things. So let me know in the comments, guys, what you thought of this one and what you thought of today's DIYs. I hope they gave you guys some inspiration for your next projects. You can turn something old into something new again. Guys, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. This will help my channel grow. We'll see you in the next video, guys. Bye. Have a great day. So this first DIY here, guys, this is an old picture frame that I thrifted. That picture on there is paper. I did try and take it off first, but it was going to be really hard. And so I decided to leave it there and just paint the whole frame in black. Now, first I'm taking off the picture hanger here on the back. And just to let you know, guys, the reason I'm showing you this part is because I'm going to fill in those holes with a wood filler. But I did have the intention of using this frame for a scene inside on the back, like a Christmas scene actually, but I ran out of time during Christmas, so I didn't get a chance to do that. So I'm going in a whole different direction here today since Christmas is over. But I just wanted to show you this part just in case you have a frame like this and you want to use the opposite side where you could put a scene inside this deep frame. So I first filled it with wood filler, and once that was dry I sanded it all down. And so if I want to change my mind again in the future and just use the frame on both sides, I can do that. So my first step here was to paint the entire frame in black because I did want to distress it back once I painted it in white. So I gave it a couple of coats of black, and once the black paint was dry, I sealed it in with a sealant, just because if you're going to do some distressing and you don't seal it in, then you may seal it back, you may distress it back to the frame if it's not sealed in. So if you want to do your distressing, make sure you seal in that black paint. So as you can see here, I gave it a couple of coats of black paint, and then I started with my chalk paint once the sealant was dry. So this is what it looks like when it's all dry. So now I'm going to give it that coat of homemade chalk paint, guys. So this is what the frame looks like after 3 coats of paint I put on this. And here I'm just using a wet rag to do the distressing. And as you'll see, the black is coming through and not the wood, and that's because I placed a sealant on it. And this is what it looks like, the distressing. And right here I'm going to be using some IOD stamps. And this package is really beautiful. It has a lot of beautiful transfers, so I'll leave a link for that in the description box as well. So this is the transfer that I'm going to be using here, this beautiful rose. So I'm just going to cut around that and just place it where I want on the frame. I'm also going to be putting a butterfly there on the top, like it's going to land on that rose. And then underneath this rose in that package there was some writing. It's some French words for rose, I believe. So right here, I'm just taking out the paper that's underneath the transfer. So make sure, guys, that you know where you want to place your transfer before pulling that paper out, because once it sticks, you're committed. So I've finished burnishing it down with the plastic stick that comes in the package, and right here I'm using that paper that came off and I'm just burnishing it down some more. And right here I'm just burnishing down the words and kind of just pull it up slowly, guys. I have it on higher speed here so it looks like I'm doing it really fast, but kind of when you're pulling your paper back, just make sure all of that transfer is going down on your piece. Right there, I'm just doing the butterfly, and as you can see, I'm just kind of pulling it up, making sure it's all sticking with that burnishing tool that it comes in the package. And then I'm using the plastic there that came off to burnish it down some more. Doesn't that look beautiful, guys? I'm absolutely in love with this piece. I love these transfers. It looks like you painted it on there. It's so beautiful. So if you haven't tried these IOD transfers, guys, give them a try. It makes your projects really quick and easy. I think Redesign for Prima also makes them, so you can look those up as well. And right here, I'm just using a clear finishing wax to seal in my piece, and then it's all finished. And I'll show you in a second here how that's gonna look. So there's the before, guys. So guys, I'm here in my bathroom, and this is where I'm gonna place this beautiful picture in here. I'm absolutely loving this transfer. It's gorgeous. And the reason I'm gonna put it in my bathroom is because of that thermostat right there. I don't like those to show sometimes. I don't know if anyone else is like me, likes to cover those up. Let me know in the comments. And guys, I did use a homemade chalk paint recipe on this beautiful framed piece here, and I will leave the link for the video in the description box. If you want to try this homemade recipe, you can try it yourself. It's working wonderful. Really easy to just dress up your piece with it. So yeah, give that a try. So I already have a nail up there. So what do you think, guys? Look at that. It covers up that thermostat perfectly because the frame is deep. So I think I'll be keeping this one for myself. I don't think I'm going to be selling this one. This frame works perfectly right there. So guys, let me know in the comments, what do you think of this piece and this transfer? For my next DIY, this is a Thrifted Recipe Box. It's looking pretty shabby there and kind of ugly. Not a style I would use, that's for sure. I don't like all that, I don't know, it looks like some yellow paint was like sponged on there. I think that's back from, I don't know, the 80s when that sponge technique was really big, like just dabbing on like with a, I don't know, sea sponge or... yeah, so it wasn't my taste, and if I was, and I don't think it's many other people's taste either. So I first gave it a good coat of black paint, and this is just an interior paint that I'm using here, guys. And right there, I'm sealing in that black paint with polyacrylic because, again, I'm going to be distressing the piece, and I don't want it to distress back to the wood. So now I'm going to give it a coat of my homemade chalk paint, And again, I'll leave that video link in the description box if you want to try making your own chalk paint. You know, if you run out of your brand name or you just don't have all the money to spend on chalk paint, because it is very expensive. So I'll probably be using this homemade recipe myself more often. I think it costs less than $1 to make like a cup of it. So right here, I'm distressing back the piece to bring that black through, as you can see here. And now on one side, I'm just taping it off here. I'm going to put some grain sack stripes. And as I was doing this, I thought I'm going to try a different direction too. So I did both sides. So you can change it up if you want to, you know, for the seasons. And if I sell this piece, I'll give the buyer like a couple of options. They can use one side where there's a grain sack stripe, and it's going to say notes. And then this other side here, I have this floral piece that I'm going to put on there with Mod Podge. I'm going to do the reverse Mod Podge method. So I'm going to apply my Mod Podge down on this side, and then I'm going to put that floral piece of paper face down on the Mod Podge, guys. And I'm just going to let that sit overnight. And I've let that sit overnight, and now I'm just gonna take it off with some water. Don't saturate it in water, just, you know, get it wet, but not like sopping wet. And then once you have it wet, you're gonna use your fingers to take off that paper. So like I said, I let this sit for 24 hours. So as you can see here, I'm rubbing gently, enough where you get the paper to come off, but not too hard where you're taking off some of the print, which I did in some areas, and you'll see there that I rubbed a little too hard in some areas. I'm just getting used to this method here, but I'm loving it. Look at that. But as you can see there, you can see like a little bit of white where I rubbed off some of the print. So don't rub too hard. So this is the other side. I have some vinyl letters here on hand. So I'm just spelling out the word notes, and I started with the letter T in the center first, so my words will be more centered. So these vinyl letters, guys, I got from the Dollar Tree. So if you don't have a Cricut or Silhouette, I did, but I had these on hand. So I thought I'd use these. So if you don't have a Cricut or Silhouette, you can just pick up some vinyl letters at your local dollar store. And I'm going to use a clear finishing wax on this piece as well to seal everything in. And then this piece is done. So let me know, guys, have you guys tried this reverse Mod Podge method? And let me know which side you like the best, the side with the notes and the grain sack stripe, or the other side with this beautiful floral. It looks really rustic. I'm loving both sides, actually. I really like both sides, but let me know in the comments which side you like best. So this is what it looked like before, and this is how beautiful it looks after. You can use this for recipe cards, you can use it for note cards. As I've shown you here, here's some recipes and some note cards that I like to send out to my friends and family sometimes. And I'm showing you both sides here. So you could use this also for some affirmation cards. This could be used for all sorts of things. So let me know in the comments, guys, what do you thought of this one? For the final DIY here, guys, I'm going to be making over some thrifted milk bottles. And I found 3 of these at the thrift store, so that worked out great. So I'm just giving them a couple of coats of white spray paint here. And after I gave them a couple of coats of the white spray paint and let that dry, I sealed that in with a sealant. And here I'm just kind of giving them a light sanding with 220 grit sand block here. They were kind of gritty, so I just we're smoothing them out there a little bit. And right here I'm just using some vinyl lettering that says number 1, number 2, and number 3, and I did these on my Silhouette Cameo. And right here I'm just using the transfer tape and just burnishing it down with I have an old card here that I use. And then I'm just centering them up on the bottle, placing them where I want it, and I'm just putting a couple of pieces of whatever I had on my craft desk here on the side to keep it from rolling around. And this is what it looks like, and this is what all 3 of them look like with number 1, number 2, and number 3 on there. This looks very farmhouse, I find. Then I put some lavender in there, and this project was very quickly done. What do you think of this quick redo, guys? Let me know in the comments. Well, I hope you enjoyed these DIYs today. Let me know in the comments which one of these was your favorite, and I hope they gave you some inspiration. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, guys. I really appreciate you being here, and please consider subscribing and click that notification bell. That way YouTube will let you know when I upload new videos. For this first DIY, I'll be making a riser with this thrifted piece of wood. I don't think it's a cutting board, but I'm going to be adding some decoupage paper and some legs. And these are dowel pegs that I'll be using for the legs. And I got these at the Dollar Tree. Right here I'm going to be using this recipe card. I put a hole in it, and I'm gonna line it up on each corner to mark out where I'm gonna be putting those legs. Now I'm gonna be adding some wood glue to the dowel pegs. You can add a little bit of hot glue here as well if you want them to stick faster, but I just press down on them and it seemed to work. Let them sit for a little bit. I also nailed in some nails with a nail gun after they sit for a little bit. And you can wipe away any excess glue that's around the legs. So I did let this sit for a while before I put the nails in with the nail gun. And when you're using a nail gun, don't be afraid of it, but practice safety. Wear your eye goggles, which I have on, you just can't see it. I put 2 nails in each leg. And just remove the battery from the nail gun afterwards just to be safe. Right here I'm putting a Fusion mineral paint as the base color. This color is called Coal Black. I'll be using a white chalk paint on top of this, so I wanted to distress it afterwards, so I wanted some of the black to come through. And I only needed one coat of this paint. After I let it dry, I applied the Rust-Oleum chalk paint in linen white. I just added a touch of water on my brush each time I dip the chalk paint in. Just seemed to go on a little smoother that way. And as you can see, this piece of wood had some grooves in it. So I applied, I think it was 2 or 3 coats of the white linen chalk paint. Now I'm giving it a sand around the edges where you would see some natural wear and tear, and along those grooves. Not sure this was quite necessary if I was going to be applying the decoupage paper, but I did it anyway, just in case the decoupage paper kind of broke through this area. And there's a Tim Holtz decoupage paper. And this decoupage paper is called Typeset. So here I'm just cutting the decoupage paper to fit my piece. And it's so thin you can just cut this with a ruler. I'm just placing it where I want to, and I'm using Mod Podge to apply the decoupage paper. And I start halfway on the decoupage paper. I find it's easier to apply this way. Less chances of messing it up compared to if you just applied the Mod Podge along the whole length of the piece and then just tried to stick it down. Smooth it out. Make sure your edges have some Mod Podge. I'm just using an old card here to get the decoupage paper in those grooves. Here I'm just working on the other side. Just smoothing it out with that card. Go lightly because this paper, like I said, is very thin and it could rip easily. So once you have all of your decoupage paper applied to your piece, put a thin layer of Mod Podge on top to seal it in. And this is what it looks like with the glue still kind of wet. It will dry to a matte finish. And there you go. Doesn't that look beautiful? Let me know in the comments if you guys have used this Tim Holtz decoupage paper. For this next DIY, I'm going to be working on these coasters that I picked up at a thrift store. I think I got these at the Habitat for Humanity as well, and I showed these in my thrift haul video. So if you haven't seen that, I'll leave that in the description box as well. And I think I paid a few bucks for these. The colors were nice, but I don't know, maybe they would have been nice for summer, but I wanted to do a black and white botanical on these, so I painted them all up with an interior paint that I have, and I use a sponge brush there, and I actually had to do 3 coats of paint on these to cover up that red and blue print on there. So here I'm using a Tim Holtz Botanical rice paper, and I cut that out with scissors. I did try that fabric cutter there as well, but found the scissors worked best. So after I got those all cut out in the shape of the coasters, I applied some Mod Podge and put the paper on the Mod Podge, and then I just smoothed that out with a plastic bag. And right here I'm using a makeup brush for the Mod Podge. I find those are sometimes nice because they're softer, and especially when you're applying the Mod Podge on the top, and it doesn't rip the paper as easily. So as you can see there, I'm using a plastic bag just to kind of smooth it out once I have the first layer of Mod Podge on there. And after I have all the Mod Podge applied to all of these coasters, I do let them dry overnight, and I apply the second coat of Mod Podge the next day. And before I applied that second coat of Mod Podge, I sanded the edges to get that excess paper off there. So right here I'm applying that second coat of Mod Podge. Isn't that botanical print beautiful, guys? So these are going to be a Christmas gift for someone. I almost wanted to keep them for myself, but I have a lot of coasters already, so I'm going to let these go as a Christmas gift for one of my friends or family. But I absolutely love these. I might have to do a set for myself sometime. And I also did do a set of nesting tables in this rice paper, which turned out absolutely beautiful. The nesting tables were a red cherry color, and I painted them white and put this botanical rice paper on top, and they turned out absolutely beautiful. So I'll leave that video in the description box as well. First DIY here, I'll be making over this rectangular cupboard door, and most of these cupboard doors I picked up from the Habitat for Humanity. So you can see here I covered up the hole with some wood filler, and after that was dry I sanded it down smooth, and once that was done I gave it a coat of black paint as the base coat because I want to put a white on top of it and then distress it back. And this is just a black interior paint that I'm using here. And after the black paint was dry, I put a polyacrylic on top of that because when I distress it back, I don't want it to just distress back to the cupboard. So I'm just sealing in that black paint. So I've applied my Rust-Oleum white linen chalk paint here. And right here, you'll see me doing some distressing along the edges and the corners just to give it that natural distress look. And that's what it looks like when I've distressed it back to the black. And right here I'm going to be applying some decoupage paper, and this is a Tim Holtz paper. I think this is like a numerology or something like that. It has a bunch of numbers and letters on it. I will leave it in the description box where I got that. So I haven't told you what kind of DIY I'm making with this cupboard door yet, have I? So right here I'm making actually a coat rack, or somewhere you can hang your totes, your bags, anything you want, some decorative piece. So I've cut out the decoupage paper to fit on the inside here. And I'm just using an X-Acto knife to cut along the edges so that decoupage paper will fit in there nicely. And how I like to apply my Mod Podge is I kind of start out like half and half. So I'm starting from one end here, just applying a little, then smoothing it out. And I have an old shower cap that I'm using here to smooth it out. So you can use a plastic bag, you can use a plastic glove if you have one. Sometimes they come in the hair dye kits. But yeah, the plastic I find is really good for smoothing it out instead of using your fingers. Sometimes your fingers will rip the paper, so I find the plastic works really good. So here I'm just fitting it into the corners and smoothing it all out, and you'll see in the end like I hardly have any wrinkles here, so I find this method works really, really well. And right here I'm going to be applying some knobs that I had on hand from some old cupboard doors from a long time ago, and I just kept them just in case I ever needed them, and here they are coming in handy. So I'm using that same decoupage paper and I'm cutting out some circles to apply to the knobs. I'm just wetting my little small paintbrush here and going around in the circle and then just ripping it. You could cut it as well if you'd like. So I find this tissue paper is a little harder to rip with water than like napkins. So here I'm just applying the Mod Podge to the knobs, and I'm putting that decoupage that I just ripped out here with my paintbrush. I'm applying that on top of all of them, and then once I have all of the decoupage paper applied to the top, I did apply a top coat of Mod Podge on there as well, and I just let that dry overnight. As you can see there, I'm applying the top coat of Mod Podge. And I just let that dry overnight. And I applied a top coat of Mod Podge to the middle portion of the decoupage paper here as well. And right here, I applied a piece of tape along the length of the cupboard door. Now, I should have drilled the holes in before I did all the painting and stuff, but I didn't. But this worked out. If you put that tape there, it really helps with not getting any like splits around your wood. It gives it a more cleaner finish. Here I'm just putting the screws in and putting all those knobs on. And this turned out absolutely beautiful. And once I'm finished the piece, I'm just giving it a nice wax coat over all the areas where the paint is, just to seal it in. Isn't that beautiful, guys? I'm absolutely in love with this piece. I love the black and white too, and the little bit of distressing, and then the Mod Podge decoupage on the handles, I think really sets it apart and kind of ties in with the middle. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments what you thought of this cupboard door DIY. So for this next DIY, guys, I'll have another cupboard door here, and that I also got at the Habitat for Humanity, and they charge $6 for these, and then I think $3 for the drawers. Let me know what they charge in your area. So again, I covered up those holes with the wood filler and sanded it smooth after it was dry. And I'm just giving this a scuff sanding because it was kind of shiny, so just gave it a scuff sanding. And then I had this like dark blue paint left over from an area that I painted in my house, so I put that as the undercoat, and you couldn't really tell that it wasn't black when I distressed it back, but so yeah, I used that up. And this I don't know if this was a cupboard door or a drawer. I think it might have been a drawer. And it had that almost looked like a shiplap kind of style in the middle. So I painted that up with my Rust-Oleum white linen chalk paint, and I'll be using some IOD transfers on this piece. And I did 2 of these because I gave this to my mom for Christmas. It has some birds IODs on it. And my sister saw it on my mom's wall. She was like, "Where did you get that?" And she's like, "Your sister gave it to me." So my sister contacted me and she wanted me to make one for her. So I don't show you the whole DIY process for hers, but I'll show you the 2 different looks for the 2 different kind of drawers with the IOD transfers on them. And I actually put a really lighter blue under my sister's, and it turned out really nice. She has some blue in her kitchen, so I asked her if she wanted some blue underneath for the distressing to show through, and she said yes. So it turned out really, really nice. They both turned out really nice. So here's the IOD transfer pack, and they have so many nice IOD transfers in there. And you'll see the bird one coming up here that I'll be using. They had 2 bird transfers in there actually, so I got to use both of them. So there's one, and then there's the other. I think that's the one I did for my mom, and then the other one I put on my sister's. Aren't they beautiful transfers? So you'll see some DIYs coming up in the future with some of these transfers on them. So don't forget to hit that notification bell to see some future videos with me using these IOD transfers. And let me know in the comments, guys, if you guys have used these transfers. And I know there's Prima redesign transfers out there as well. I haven't used those yet. So let me know in the comments if you use both of these companies' transfers, and let me know which ones you like better. So here I'm just cutting around the birds and just placing it in the middle there where I want it, measuring it out just to center it up. And then I put some tape down so it doesn't, so the transfer doesn't move around. And then it comes with this little plastic, applicator. What do you call a stick? It's not really a stick, I guess. And so there's what it turned out like after you rub in the transfer. And after that was all done, I applied some wax to the piece and gave it a nice finish and just sealed everything in. And here on the back I just applied a hanger. So as you can see there, the transfer like goes right in between that shiplap looking kind of wood in the center there. What do you guys think? Aren't those birds just absolutely beautiful? I love them. Now I used the blue underneath because I wanted the blue on the birds to kind of show through, but this would have been really nice one for my sister. But the other bird IOD transfer didn't have as much blue in the birds, but that one was beautiful as well. I actually like the other one a little better with the blue showing through, and you'll see coming up here in the pictures. So let me know in the comments which one you guys like. Do you like this one with the more of the blue showing through? So this is the one I did for my sister. It's a little smaller, not as long, but I like that blue showing through. It kind of brings out the blue on that breast of that one bird there. So let me know in the comments which one you guys like better. So here, guys, I did the same process where I filled the holes with wood filler, sanded it once it was dry, and here I'm putting my black base coat of paint. And for this DIY I'm making a planter. So I had this box here, and so I'm going to attach that to the drawer piece. I'm just painting that up with the white Rust-Oleum chalk paint inside, and I did the black on the outside, but I'm also going to paint that with the Rust-Oleum white chalk paint all the way around, and then I'm going to apply this Tim Holtz botanical paper here, and I'll put that in the description box as well. And I've used this paper quite a bit, and as you'll see here, I've run out. So luckily I had just enough to do this piece by cutting it down to where I'm going to attach that box. So I have cut out a piece just to apply to the front of the box. I would have liked to apply it on the sides too, but like I said, I didn't have enough paper. I ran out because I've used this on a few DIYs, and if you'll look through my videos there, you'll see some other DIYs where I've used this beautiful botanical paper. It's gorgeous. So I applied it to the front of the box, and like I said, I do the half and half method. Start on in the middle and go to the outside, and then work from the middle to the other side. Right here, I'm just sanding with a fine grit sand block, sanding off that excess paper, and then I'm applying some Mod Podge to the top of it. And I use a makeup brush, guys, because they're so soft. I find some of the other brushes can easily rip the paper. So if you have some old makeup brushes laying around, or pick some up at the dollar store, just apply it with a makeup brush. And right here, I'm just applying it on the drawer piece. And so as you can see here, it could only go down as far as the box. Luckily I had enough. And I had to cut the decoupage paper and piece it together lengthwise, because like I said, just to line up the prints and stuff like that, to make it look more natural. And I'm using my shower cap plastic here to smooth it out, and you'll see in the end I didn't get any wrinkles or anything. I'm just distressing the side here, bringing that black through, and then applying the Mod Podge on top of that decoupage paper again, just to seal it in. So you can see some of the distressing coming through. So remember to apply your polyacrylic or your sealer, guys, on the black paint, so when you distress it back, it doesn't go back to the cupboard door. And here I'm using my battery operated nail gun, which is awesome. This is by Ryobi. Don't be afraid of these, guys, but use safety precautions when you're operating them. As you can see, I put on my safety glasses. Make sure you do that, and always make sure you got the right length of nail in there, because you don't want it to come through your piece if it's too long. So I've nailed that in place, and this is what it looks like, guys. Isn't that beautiful? You can put your beautiful plants in there, and I gave that some wax as well on the sides there where the raw chalk paint is. And this is what it looks like, guys. I'm loving this. And I did put a hanger on the back of this too, so I could hang it off my wall. So you'll see it in a picture coming up here. Let me know what you thought of this one, guys. Okay, for this next DIY, guys, this is a cupboard door, I think, and I did the same process again. Cover any holes with wood filler, let it dry, sand it back, and then apply your paint. So I'm going a different route here with the colors. So I applied my white interior paint first and let that dry. I put a coat of polyacrylic on top of that. And right here I'm using this blue Miss Mustard Seed milk paint that I had on hand. So once that was dry, sanded it down, because milk paint can be kind of gritty, and it you can make it so it chips easy too. So I distress it back to the white to bring some of that white through. And here I have some drop cloth that I'm going to apply to it and rip that and just fray it, and just I'm going to put that in the center. This turned out really nice. I'm loving this. And when you just all you need to do is cut a little slit in the drop cloth and then rip it, and it gives you that fraying. And right here I'm using some IOD stamps, and I made a big mistake coming up here, guys, and you'll see what I did, and it just it's a good thing you couldn't hear me what I was saying here. Cut that part out. But yeah, so I messed up on spelling the words. Oh gosh, and didn't even notice it when I was putting it down until after the ink was already on the drop cloth. Yeah, this is where I notice that I've misspelled the word, because you know you got to do it backwards, right? So make sure you look at your words, guys, when you're putting it on there. So I had to rip this whole thing off again, and so luckily it didn't show through the back, so I just used that same piece instead of having to cut out the drop cloth again. And so guys, what I nailed this drop cloth in with here are some upholstery nails, some black upholstery nails. They're beautiful, and the holes are already there, so that just enabled me to put those through easy again. I'm just using some double-sided tape to put those stamp letters on there because they were kind of slipping off. So if you're having issues with that, so you can see here I'm going finger by finger making sure that word is spelled correctly. So guys, make sure you check it before you apply the stamp. I just went ahead and applied it and didn't even look at the spelling, because you're having to put those letters on backwards before you apply it. And I needed another 2 E's, so I just kind of took it off afterwards and put it on the end and kind of lined it up there with the M and got it on correctly. What do you think, guys? I'm absolutely loving this one too. And I apply some wax to this, and it kind of brings out the blue a little more and seals in the piece. But I'm absolutely loving this. So have any of you guys tried the IOD stamps? They are awesome. And I'll put the package of IOD stamps that this is in the description box. It's really versatile for a lot of DIY projects. So guys, let me know what you thought of this one. So this is our final DIY today, guys. And again, this is a cupboard door I got at the Habitat for Humanity, and this one was great. It wasn't painted or anything, it was just straight raw wood. So I rolled some black paint on there, sealed it with some polyacrylic, put my Rust-Oleum white linen chalk paint on top, distressed it back with a wet rag. And for this one, I've got this beautiful fresh flower market design that I did on my silhouette cameo, and I'll be putting this on my Etsy shop, guys. So if you guys are interested in this fresh flower market design, Check out my Etsy shop at OakWell.com. I don't have a lot on there right now, but I'll keep putting more and more designs on there as time allows me. So peel back that transfer tape kind of on an angle. And then here I'm using some of the IOD plastic that came off those transfers because it's really smooth, and I'm kind of just pressing in those vinyl letters. And again, applying that last coat of clear wax, and this is what I get. I'm absolutely loving this. So guys, I was thinking about leaving the edging black, but I painted it white and distressed it back. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think I should have left it frame kind of black, or just distress it back and look like this? Well guys, I hope you enjoyed all of these cupboard door DIYs today. So if you have some old cupboard doors laying around, this is some ideas of what you can do. So again, if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing and click the notification bell so YouTube will notify you when I post new videos. And here's just a recap of everything that I've done today. Thanks guys, we'll see you in the next video. Have an awesome day. Bye.